I never thought I'd be the kind of person who could ruin a marriage. But here I am, sitting in our cozy Asheville home, staring at the man I once loved more than anything. Caleb and I have lived here for 6 years now, 6 long, complicated years. Asheville is the kind of place where everyone knows your business but they pretend not to. It's charming, sure, with its artsy vibe and mountain views, but lately it feels suffocating. Like the town itself is watching me, waiting for me to mess up again. Last night we had friends over for dinner. A rare occasion these days. The table was set perfectly, candles flickering, wine flowing freely. Everything seemed normal, almost too normal. That's when it happened. I caught Caleb looking at me, his eyes sharp and unreadable, as I laughed at something Mark, one of our guests, said. It wasn't even a flirty laugh, just polite. But Caleb's gaze lingered, heavy and cold, like he was dissecting every word I spoke. What? I asked him later, my voice tinged with irritation. He just shrugged, that infuriating half-smile playing on his lips. Nothing, he said, but his tone told me otherwise. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. But I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. By the time everyone left, I was exhausted, not from hosting but from pretending everything was fine. As I cleared the dishes, I replayed the moment in my head. His stare felt like a knife, slicing through the fragile peace we'd built over the past 2 years. 2 years since it happened. Since Liam. God, just thinking about Liam makes my chest tighten. I met him at a work conference back then, during one of those lonely stretches where Caleb was always working late or traveling. We connected instantly, both of us craving something neither of our lives offered. It started innocently enough, coffee dates, long conversations, but soon spiraled into something neither of us could control. When Caleb found out, I thought my world would end. Instead, he forgave me, or so I believed. He held me close that night, whispering promises of moving forward. At the time it felt genuine. Now, I'm not so sure. As I lay in bed last night, staring at the ceiling, I realized how much I've been living on edge lately. Every smile Caleb gives me feels calculated, every touch deliberate. And that look he gave me during dinner? It was like he saw right through me, past the mask I wear every day. The worst part? I can't tell if he's angry, hurt, or something else entirely. All I know is this: whatever calm we've had is about to shatter. And honestly, I'm terrified. It started with a text message. One stupid little notification that lit up my phone screen while I was grocery shopping. My heart stopped when I saw his name flash across the screen. Liam. Of course, it couldn't have come at a worse time. Caleb was standing right next to me, picking out apples like nothing was wrong. I fumbled with my phone, trying to silence it before he noticed, but his eyes darted toward me anyway. Who's texting you? He asked casually, though there was an edge to his voice I couldn't ignore. No one important. I lied, stuffing my phone into my pocket. But inside I was panicking. What did Liam want? Why now? After all this time, why couldn't he just leave me alone? When I finally got home and locked myself in the bathroom, I opened the message. It was short, cryptic, and terrifying. We need to talk. You owe me that much. My hands trembled as I stared at the words. How dare he act like I owed him anything after everything he put me through? Still, guilt gnawed at me. Guilt for cheating, guilt for lying, guilt for letting Caleb forgive me without ever really making things right. I tried ignoring him, deleting the message, pretending it didn't exist. But Liam wasn't going to let me off that easily. The texts kept coming, each one more desperate than the last. Then came the calls. I blocked his number, changed my privacy settings, did everything I could to shut him out. Yet somehow he found another way to reach me. A voicemail left on my work phone. Hearing his voice sent chills down my spine. Ellie, please, he pleaded. You don't understand what's happening. Caleb, he knows. That's when I lost it. I called him back, shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone steady. What do you mean he knows? I hissed. Liam hesitated, then admitted he'd seen Caleb talking to someone at a bar downtown. Someone who looked suspiciously like a private investigator. He's been digging, Ellie, Liam warned. If you don't meet me tomorrow, I swear to God, I'll go straight to him and tell him everything. Everything. The thought made my stomach churn. Because as much as I wanted to believe Caleb had forgiven me, deep down I knew better. Forgiveness doesn't erase suspicion. And suspicion breeds control. By the time I hung up with Liam, I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling beneath my feet. Caleb hadn't said a word about any of this, but his behavior lately, the way he watched me, questioned me, it all made sense now. He wasn't forgiving me. He was planning something big, and I had no idea how to stop it. Caleb announced a family dinner out of nowhere. "It'll be nice," he said with that infuriating calmness of his. "Just us, Mom and Sophie." Nice? The word felt like a slap in the face. Nothing about our lives has been nice lately. Still, I didn't argue. Arguing only made things worse. The evening started off innocently enough. Maggie, Caleb's mom, brought her famous apple pie, and Sophie showed up wearing one of those overly cheerful outfits she always seems to favor. But as soon as we sat down at the table, the tension crept in. It wasn't loud or obvious, just subtle jabs disguised as casual conversation. "So, Ellie," Sophie began, her voice dripping with fake sweetness, "how's work going? Still traveling for conferences?" Her eyes flicked to Caleb, who was busy slicing into his steak. My fork froze midair. Conferences? Of course she'd bring that up. "It's fine," I replied, forcing a smile. "Not much travel these days." Sophie tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "That's good. Wouldn't want any distractions, would we?" Distractions. The word hit me like a punch to the gut. I glanced at Caleb, but he didn't react. Not outwardly anyway. Inside I could feel the walls closing in. Was this some kind of test? A trap? Later, after dessert, Caleb pulled me aside under the guise of showing me something upstairs. Instead, he handed me a folder. "Thought you might want to see this," he said, his tone eerily neutral. Inside were receipts, screenshots, even timestamps. Proof of my affair with Liam. My hand shook as I flipped through the pages. How had he gathered all this? And why now? Before I could ask, he leaned in close, his breath hot against my ear. "Loyalty matters, Ellie. Don't forget that." When I returned to the living room, Sophie caught my eye and smirked. That's when I knew she was in on it. Whatever it was. Unable to sleep that night, I wandered into Caleb's study. Something told me to look in his desk drawer, and there it was. An old photo of me and Liam, taken during one of our secret meetings. Someone had scribbled across it in red ink, "Never forget." I sank to the floor, clutching the picture. This wasn't forgiveness. It was revenge. Things escalated quickly after that night. Caleb became a shadow, hovering over every aspect of my life. He changed the passwords to our joint accounts without warning, cutting me off from access to our savings. When I protested, he shrugged it off. "For your own good," he said. "You've proven you can't handle responsibility." My phone disappeared next. One morning, I woke up to find it missing from the nightstand. Caleb claimed he'd misplaced it but conveniently produced a new one. A basic model with no apps, no social media, and no way to contact anyone outside his approval. "You don't need distractions," he explained, handing it to me with a patronizing smile. "Focus on us. On fixing what's broken. Fixing what's broken." As if I was the sole architect of our crumbling marriage. Every interaction with him left me feeling smaller, weaker, like a bird trapped in an ornate golden cage. Beautiful, yes, but suffocating. Then Liam called again. Somehow he tracked down my new number. "Ellie, you have to leave him," he urged. "He's controlling you. You're not safe there." Safe. The irony stung. Liam, the man who once promised me freedom, was now offering it again. Except this time I wasn't sure if I trusted him, or myself. "I can help you," he insisted. "We'll figure it out together." Part of me wanted to believe him. Another part screamed that trusting Liam again would be the biggest mistake of my life. But as Caleb tightened his grip, leaving began to feel less like a choice and more like a necessity. Enough was enough. I couldn't keep living like this, tiptoeing around Caleb, hiding pieces of myself just to avoid setting him off. So I did what I should have done months ago. I asked for a divorce. We were sitting in the kitchen, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the countertops. I took a deep breath and said the words I'd rehearsed 1,000 times in my head. "Caleb, I can't do this anymore. I want out." His reaction wasn't what I expected. Instead of yelling or pleading, he simply smiled. A slow, chilling grin that sent shivers down my spine. "Out?" he repeated, leaning back in his chair. You think it's that easy? What do you mean? I demanded, my voice shaking despite my best efforts to stay calm. He stood up and walked to the counter, pulling out a stack of papers. You see, Ellie, I've been planning for this moment for a while now. These, he tapped the documents, are restraining orders. Against you. Against me. My mind reeled. What are you talking about? Oh, come on, he said, his tone mocking. Did you really think I wouldn't prepare for the possibility of you trying to leave? Sophie helped me gather evidence, texts, emails, photos. Enough to paint you as unstable. Unfit. Unfit. The word echoed in my ears like a death sentence. Before I could respond, Sophie walked in holding her phone. She pressed play on a recording, my voice distorted but unmistakable, arguing with Caleb during one of our fights. This is slander, I snapped, tears welling in my eyes. You can't use this. Can't I? Caleb countered, his voice cold. Who do you think people will believe? The dutiful husband who forgave his cheating wife? Or the woman who abandoned her marriage and ran off with her lover? I stumbled backward, the room spinning. This wasn't just revenge, it was annihilation. And worst of all, I had no idea how to fight back. I needed an ally. Someone who could help me fight back against Caleb's madness. Maggie was my only hope. She'd always been kind to me, even when things between Caleb and me were at their worst. Surely she wouldn't stand by and let him destroy me completely. I called her the next morning, my voice trembling as I begged her to meet me somewhere private. Maggie, please, I whispered into the phone. You have to help me. She hesitated, then agreed to see me at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of town. When I arrived, she looked older than I remembered, her eyes heavy with worry. Ellie, she said softly, reaching for my hand. What's going on? I spilled everything, the texts, the photos, the restraining orders. Her expression shifted from shock to sadness, but not once did it turn to anger or determination. Instead, she shook her head, tears pooling in her eyes. I'm sorry, Ellie, she murmured. But there's nothing I can do. Nothing. I echoed, incredulous. He's your son. And he's dangerous, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't know what he's capable of. If I cross him, she trailed off, shuddering. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Even his own mother was afraid of him. What chance did I have? That night I tried calling Liam, desperate for some kind of reassurance. But his number went straight to voicemail. Over the next few days he stopped responding altogether. It was as if he'd vanished into thin air, leaving me alone to face Caleb's wrath. And then came the ultimatum. Caleb sat me down one evening, his demeanor eerily calm. If you want your freedom, he began, you'll do exactly as I say for the next 6 months. No arguments, no defiance. Prove to me that you've changed. 6 months. 6 months of living under his thumb, pretending to be someone I wasn't. The thought made me sick, but what choice did I have? Without proof, without support, I was trapped. I'll do it, I said finally, my voice hollow. His smile was triumphant. Good. We'll start tomorrow. As I lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, I realized something terrifying. Caleb didn't just want to punish me. He wanted to break me. And I wasn't sure I had the strength to resist. The days blurred together, each one more suffocating than the last. Caleb's rules were relentless. No socializing, no late nights, no excuses. Every move I made was scrutinized, dissected, judged. I felt like a prisoner in my own home. My every action dictated by a man who claimed to love me. At first, I tried to hold on, to remind myself that this was temporary, that I could endure anything for 6 months. But the weight of his control pressed down on me, heavier with each passing day. By week 3, I couldn't take it anymore. Started with wine. A glass to calm my nerves after dinner. Then 2 glasses. Then the whole bottle. The alcohol dulled the edges of my anxiety, but it wasn't enough. One night, while Caleb was out running errands, I found an old prescription of sleeping pills in the medicine cabinet. Just one, I told myself. Just to get through the night. But 1 turned into 2 and 2 turned into 3. Before long, I was popping them like candy, chasing the oblivion they promised. Each morning I woke up groggy and ashamed, vowing to stop, but by evening the craving returned. Then one fateful night I stumbled upon something that changed everything. While searching for aspirin in Caleb's office, I noticed a leather-bound notebook tucked beneath a stack of papers. Curiosity got the better of me and I opened it. Page after page detailed his meticulous plan to break me. Entries dated back years, chronicling every misstep I'd ever made, every lie I'd ever told. He documented our fights, my affair with Liam, even conversations I'd forgotten about. The final entry sent chills down my spine. Phase 3 complete. She's unraveling faster than expected. Soon she'll be nothing. My hands trembled as I closed the journal. This wasn't just revenge, it was obsession. Caleb wasn't content with punishing me. He wanted to erase me entirely. That night I cried until I couldn't breathe. For the first time I understood the depth of his hatred, and the lengths he'd go to ensure I never escaped. I couldn't keep living like this, half drunk, half asleep, drowning in guilt and fear. Something had to give. So I decided to fight back. Over the next few weeks I began gathering evidence. I copied pages from Caleb's journal, snapped photos of incriminating documents, and recorded our arguments whenever possible. It was risky, but I didn't care anymore. If I was going down, I was taking him with me. But every step forward felt like 2 steps back. Whenever I thought I had enough to expose him, something would happen to derail my plans. Files disappeared. Recordings malfunctioned. Even my memory seemed unreliable, clouded by exhaustion and medication. Just when I thought I was out of options, Sophie showed up at my door unannounced. Her face was pale, her hands shaking. "We need to talk," she said urgently, pulling me inside. For years I'd resented her for staying silent, for letting Caleb manipulate her. But now, looking into her eyes, I saw something new: fear. Real raw fear. "He's done this before," she confessed, her voice cracking. "To me. Years ago when we were younger. He isolated me, controlled me, made me believe I was worthless. I left Asheville to escape him, but he found me, threatened me, said if I ever told anyone, he'd make sure I regretted it." Tears streamed down her face as she handed me a flash drive. "This is everything I've collected over the years. Conversations, emails, recordings. Enough to prove what he's done to both of us." I stared at the tiny device in my hand, overwhelmed by the weight of her betrayal turned redemption. For the first time in months I felt a flicker of hope. "We'll take him down together," I promised. Sophie nodded, her resolve hardening. "Let's end this." The showdown happened sooner than I expected. Armed with Sophie's evidence and my own findings, I confronted Caleb one final time. We met in the living room, the same place where so many of our battles had played out. This time, though, I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. "You think you're untouchable," I spat, throwing the flash drive onto the coffee table. "But I know the truth. About everything." Caleb's smirk faltered, but only for a moment. "And what exactly do you think you've uncovered?" he sneered. "Enough to ruin you," I shot back. "Your manipulation, your lies, your abuse. All of it. You won't get away with this anymore." He laughed. A cold, hollow sound that sent shivers down my spine. "You really think you can win against me? After everything I've done to protect what's mine?" Before I could respond, Sophie stepped forward, her phone in hand. "It's over, Caleb," she said firmly. "I've already called the police." His face twisted in rage, but beneath the fury I saw it, fear. For the first time he was afraid. As sirens wailed in the distance, I felt a surge of triumph and relief. The nightmare was finally ending. Caleb's arrest was swift and merciless. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and within days, he was charged with multiple counts of domestic abuse, stalking, and harassment. Sophie testified against him, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. Watching her speak, I realized how much courage it must have taken for her to break free, and how much strength we'd both gained from standing together. Afterward, I packed up my life in Asheville and moved to a small apartment in Charlotte. Leaving behind the house, the memories, the pain, it wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Now, sitting by the window in my new home, I watch the city lights flicker in the distance. For the first time in years I feel free. Free from Caleb's control. Free from the guilt that haunted me for so long. I still have scars, emotional ones that may never fully heal. But I'm learning to live with them, to use them as reminders of how far I've come. As I sip my tea and stare out at the skyline, I whisper the words I've been waiting years to say. I finally decided. It's time to live for myself. And for the first time, I mean it.